Welcome to the Freedom Blueprint Show, a podcast about creating the lifestyle you want through your small business. Drawing on their experiences starting and running multi-million-dollar small businesses, three friends, John, Ryan, and Gabe, discuss how to have a business, but more importantly, a lifestyle you love.
Holy crap. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our show. Ryan, damn, you look good.
Thanks, buddy. Yeah, I got this new camera for my Zoom calls, so I stepped it up away from the regular laptop camera.
You got more than just a new camera, my friend. You got, looks like a new mic, a new chair, a new office. I mean, you're a new shirt.
So this is my whiteboard desk. I'm super excited about it. Like I can literally just like start taking notes. Like I no longer have notepads. I just write at my desk now.
Well, that's pretty damn sick.
Can I do that? Do you know, Ryan? Can I do that on a sliding glass door?
Yeah, you just need to frost it.
Oh, I need to frost the sliding glass door to do it?
You could write on it. I mean, honestly, if you want to just put a white piece of paper behind it, you'll be fine. You just need something behind it so you can see the letters.
So you can see it. Got it.
Here on this show, we have the finest in whiteboard and writing technology that we come share with you guys each and every week. So yeah, there you go. And so, Ryan, I believe we are talking about what got us here will not get us there. And I think the idea there is the stuff we were doing, the ways we were thinking that got us to the point we're at now is not the same stuff that's going to get us to where we're going.
I love that. I mean, it's kind of that idea that you keep doing the same thing over and over and over, and you're never going to ever get further along, right? Too much further along. And I've seen that progression throughout my life. Like and maybe it's because I'm a visionary and maybe not, but I'm constantly trying to think and move 5 to 10 years ahead and looking what 5 to 10 years ahead looks like. Mm. And then I'm saying on a daily basis, what choices do I need to make to influence the future? And I don't know if most people think that way or not. What do you guys think?
Can you give an example? Can you give an example of what is like your 5 to 10 plan and how that kind of translates into like a day-to-day?
I'm going to get there, buddy. What are your thoughts on what I said, Gabe?
No, I mean, I think most people don't think that way. I think most people, there's a book by Dan Sullivan that I love. Daniel Marcos taught me about it actually, and it's called the 25-year framework. I don't know if you ever read it or heard about it, but the 25-year framework is basically thinking 25 years out, which makes you really expand your mind because it's really hard to think 25 years out. But the concept behind it is that if you're thinking 25 years out, basically you have 100 quarters to get there. So every quarter just gets you 1% closer to where you want to go. So it really takes a ton of pressure off from you as an entrepreneur, but it also makes you think gigantic. So I kind of use some of that stuff as well. But yeah, I think most people just don't think long term. I mean, most people just suffer from a short-term vision, and they're just thinking quarter to quarter or just, from this year to next year, but no one's really looking out 10, 20 years in advance.
So my goal was to get to $10 million in real estate. When I very first started, I just kind of threw that number out there. I thought 8 figures was kind of a cool idea. And now my goal is to get a business that's worth 100 million. Whether I sell it for 100 million or not, I want a business that is worth 100 million dollars. That's I want to get to that 9-figure mark. Is 100 million 9 or 10 figures? I think it's 9 figures, right?
9.
And in what length of time?
5 years.
5 years. All right. That's a big goal.
It is. Yeah. And honestly, I know we're kind of getting into the weeds here, and maybe this is part of it. I wrote down 25-year framework on my whiteboard desk, by the way. And
it'll take you like an hour to read the book. It's super short.
I'm realizing that it'll take me 2 hours if it took you an hour. I'm realizing that it's not even just what got me here won't get me there. It's who was with me to get me here may not be the same people that I need to get me to the next place.
100%.
That's good.
I have some really good managers that some are A's, some are B's. But what I'm realizing is they're not at the level where they can move mentally as fast as I can. Does that make sense? Like I can move and think and shift and change So I'm currently in the process of, and it's going to be a long process. I mean, it might take me 6 months, and I'm okay with that because I have this 5-year goal, right? But I'm trying to find a really kick butt chief marketing officer, CMO, and a really, really, really kick butt CFO. Now, for now, I'll probably outsource the CFO part for a little bit because I don't know how much I need him full time as much as I might need like a CMO. And then my next hire is a CTO, Chief Technical Officer, to help develop apps and software. And what I've noticed is when I do these leadership meetings, if I can get somebody that's worth 100 to 200 grand a year in that meeting with me, like we could all collaborate and get on the same page and then go to our different departments and implement faster instead of me and even me and my COO. Like, you just need better people around you to get to that next level.
So
yeah, I mean, I think at some point your business grows large enough, and Ryan, I think you're kind of at that point or approaching it where you need business leaders in different verticals in your company, like you're saying, right? In marketing and technology and finance and so on. Obviously, a smaller company doesn't need that, but yeah, you may very well have kind of hit that point, and then that would be a great example of what sort of the people and even the business structure, your org chart that got you there, and your roles. It's going to be different moving forward if you're trying to get to that that big $100 million kind of level.
So I love where you go with that. Sorry, Gabe. Just one last point on that is we have 2 org charts. We have our as-is org chart, and then what our org chart will look like when we hit our goal, and what it needs to look like.
Right. How do you, I'm just curious, right? So it sounds like you're already in a predicament, Ryan, where
I am.
You have this goal and you realize the people that are in your leadership table or in your round table, whatever you want to call it, are not at the capacity or don't have the capabilities that you need to get you there. And they're not bad people. They're not bad workers, but they're just not A players. If that's what we want to call them, or whatever you want to call them. How do you envision yourself transitioning from having these people on your table to now having to transition them out and find someone else to come in?
That's hard. So, luckily for the most part, we've got pretty humble leaders here that are in leadership roles. I mean, to give you an example, one of them was the COO before I bought the company. And I couldn't disclose to her that I was buying both companies, right? But I would kind of say I built some trust with her, and I said, hey, you got to trust me. Like, we may double. Like, I drive so hard, we may double overnight and become a lot bigger than we are. And some of the struggles you've told me about is, as I've interviewed you, and I'm summarizing like a few different meetings together, but some of the struggles that you've told me is you were never trained on being a COO. You feel like the owner does everything and he never lets you do anything. You're not empowered to do anything. Like, you're really kind of like limping along and just a task-driven person. As we grow, you may have to become the customer service manager or the photography manager instead of the COO. Like, you may have to go down. It's not going to change your pay. In fact, I'll give you a raise because of how awesome potential I think you have. And I've had those discussions, and they're hard. I mean, one current one, this is just stupid stuff, but like, I've got an employee that really, really, really is bothered that she doesn't have an office. And we have 8 offices, and then we have nine people that need an office, and that's just a problem, right? And what's funny is we thought about, somebody asked me the question, do you really need a podcast room? Can we give her that office? And my answer is pretty soon I'm going to hire a CTO, I'm going to hire a CMO, and I'm going to hire a CFO. And guess what? You level down managers are going to have to move to cubicles. Like, that's just so those are kind of some of the struggles that I'm dealing with.
So I'm assuming you didn't give up the podcast room.
I did not, no. And it's that concept of like, when I hire that CMO, guess what? Someone else is also going to lose an office.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, and I think part of, the thinking that got you here won't get you there is what your there is. What your there is, right? So for Ryan, it's a $100 million company. For mine, it's absolutely not a $100 million company. For mine, it's I want to keep doing the exact same amount roughly that I'm doing now, with less and less of me required to do that.
Right.
So Ryan wants to do more at this big ass thing, which is awesome. And that's what makes the world like go around, really, is people wanting that. And that's awesome. I personally, I don't want that. I want to do the same with less and less of me, where less and less of my time is required to do roughly the same that I'm doing now. So that's my there. Right. But similar kinds of challenges. So for me, like, for example, on the mobile home park and the commercial stuff that I'm doing, mainly mobile home parks, we were personally still doing all the due diligence. That was my responsibility, calling all the cities officials to find out if it's like zoned correctly and if you can bring homes into the park, and the property tax people. Then we would go on site for 2 or 3 days and we'd look at the electric and look at the plumbing. We would count all the number of occupied homes and so on and so forth. So one of the things for us is hiring people to do that, or assigning people on our team to do that due diligence. But then the hard part for me is then to be comfortable with the fact it's not going to be done as well as if I personally was doing it. And am I okay to trade off it not getting done as well for me not having to do it, and me then having that time back?
Right.
So that's a lot of the struggles I tend to go through with this, is just kind of accepting things not done to my standards to allow me to kind of level up, sort of, where I'm not personally the one that's doing it.
Right. It's awesome. Yeah. For me, I don't know. I mean, I'm not so driven by the revenue side of it as much as I am by the impact side. And I want to, 25 years from now, I want to have a massive, massive impact, where I can have an email list of millions of people that I'm influencing through writing, through speaking, through communicating ideas, that can really impact people's lives. And, in order for me to get there, I need to get out of what I'm doing now as well. And that's always been a challenge, right? I mean, I still have a lot of free time now with my current company, but it's the problem is that it takes a lot of mental equity for me still. And it takes up a lot of the mental space. And so I need to figure out a way to clear out that mental space so I can do do the bigger stuff that's really going to get me to where I want to go.
Yeah.
I mean, like you got to have that 25-year plan, Gabe. Like, you got to have that in front of you. You got like a vision board or something, because it goes back to what I said at the beginning. What choices are you making daily to influence that 25-year plan?
Right.
Like, how bad do you want it? And that goes to my point is, what got you here won't get you there. Like, your daily habits need to change to get you to that next thing. Who you surround yourself with, what you do at night, what you do after work, what skills are you learning, what emotional intelligence are you do you need to gain to be able to get there? How much capacity, like all of those things you need to be thinking about, tracking, and holding yourself accountable to, which is the hardest person to hold accountable is yourself sometimes.
Yep. I mean, that's why I think every entrepreneur should have a coach, honestly. Like, a coach just for that precise reason, to hold you accountable, because it's easy to fall off track.
Yeah. I mean, I'll give another kind of specific example of what got you here won't get you there. Me, I had a bunch of virtual assistants for the first 5 or 6 years of my business, because I didn't want to spend the money to spend $60,000-$70,000 for a full, true, US based personal assistant. And I did that, maybe a year and a half ago, and that's been extremely helpful for me. It's taken a lot of additional stuff that the VAs weren't able to do. They're very capable, but they just couldn't do everything. And so just being comfortable to spend a lot more money when I know I can do most of what the assistant does currently much less expensively, but to get that extra 20%, capacity, spend $40,000-$60,000 more. For that, and being willing to spend that money. And like Ryan, I think you're talking about too, with these higher level people that you have to pay a couple $100,000 to, being willing to spend that money so that you get more capacity and capability out of them to either take you out of your business or to just help, grow and improve and build the business. Right. Like Ryan, you're trying to do.
Or you can use them to collaborate to create new things as well. But I think to your point, John, we were talking about this in one of our earlier shows, but we were talking about that $1 per hour thing. So while your business may net less, because you have these higher capability people that you're paying more to, it should reduce the drama though in your company. and reduce the time, which will then increase your dollar per hour earnings or whatever, you know?
Well, and the there could be your level of happiness, your level of stress. The there doesn't have to be financial.
Correct.
Yeah, and that's a big part of it for me too, is my there is also a level of just peace, like equanimity, a lack of stress, like Ryan, like what you're talking about. And so I'll pay, sorry, I don't know if I just lost you guys. I'll pay twice as much for somebody if I can have, let's say, 15% less stress.
Right.
Personally.
I'm
because
of the same
I want to
mindset.
have a life of peace.
I'm of the same mindset. And one thing that's important for me though, too, like I mentioned in an earlier show, but like I'm at a point, like the work in my business is not my work per se. But what gives me fulfillment and satisfaction is seeing them win and improving their lives. And so if I can do that, but I need the right people that I actually want to do that with, you know, and I need the proximity, because if I have VAs, you know, a lot of times I don't want to spend time with these VAs. I don't want to invest the time nor energy. They're just not at the same wavelength of the people that are here closer to me. But then I can spend time with them physically. And I think the physical time spent as well is super important, especially when it comes to building trust with these people, and letting them know, and just just creating a good, meaningful relationship. I feel meaningful relationships are a key to happiness. And if you're not having proximity with people, it just makes it that much more challenging to have that in your life.
What other kind of stuff, I'm curious, Ryan, if you had to like level up on the kind of like what got you here, won't get you there as you look in the future and what you're trying to do?
I mean, honestly, emotional intelligence, and, you know, I've had to really commit to staying in control and not reacting emotionally that, you know, you want to sometimes. And developing that emotional intelligence is what I think has helped me go from here to there in the past. And then, you know, little things, just skills like negotiating. Like I used to pride myself on negotiating the very best deal with anybody I was talking to, with any subject, with anything. And I was such a hard negotiator and shrewd that it like pissed a lot of people off. So, you know, just like learning to sharpen your skills, but then also sharpen your character, like working on yourself is what you need to do to get to there oftentimes.
I love that, because you basically, we can dive deeper into that, but you realize that the negotiating end on your end was really helped you in the beginning. Like it really got you to another level. But then at a certain point, it started hindering your ability to go to the next level. And that requires, like you said, personal development, but I guess self-assessment, right? And being able to just honestly look at yourself and know what are your weaknesses, and working on them. What have been some of the things for you, Ryan, that or some of the ways that you've gone about developing the emotional intelligence and assessing yourself and knowing, okay, well, you know, I'm doing these things and this is not helping me. I gotta work on this and improve this and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think you just gotta be cognizant and humble enough to realize like relationship that you have are getting hurt, and the things that people say about you behind the scenes, which oftentimes like are exacerbated, right? Like that some people say things about you that's like not totally true, but oftentimes there's some level of truth to that. And just being humble enough to realize like, hey, maybe I do need to change. You know, I think being married really helps with that. I think women are very oftentimes good at letting you know when you have faults. And it's just being humble enough to recognize that. And then, you know, my kids, I think that was a big deal. Like realizing how I was being as a father and I was being too hard on my son. And like, I started seeing some of the like fruits, and fruit is the wrong word, the rotten fruit that comes from the way I was parenting him. And that, you know, that kind of wakes you up. So, you know, I think you gotta really take your ego off and your arrogance away for a second. And sometimes think like, hey, reassess, like, how are my relationships with people?
am I doing things that are affecting those relationships? Because to be honest with you guys, it is really, really hard not to step on people indirectly as you're trying to grow and drive and get bigger and do bigger things. Like, it's just hard. It's hard not to piss people off along the way.
100%.
And some people eat that up, and then they were like me, where I really like to negotiate so hard that I'd win every time. And I realized it was hurting those relationships. I mean, I think some people, they kind of realize like, hey, I stepped on you to get ahead. That's how I do it. And they just keep going and going and going harder at that. And they end up living a miserable life. So it just comes back to that humility of being able to recognize that. And in all honesty, like, the more I change, the more I learn to treat people better. And as people, and impact, I think, is a big word in my life too, Gabe. And how can I impact people? You know, it helps when you realize, like, these people have lives and they have struggles and they have mom and dads that die and, you know, divorce and all kinds of stuff that people are dealing with that sometimes you don't even know about.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's too long of an answer, but some of that's pretty personal, but that's really the things I've done to try to change.
Yeah. I can experience the same. I mean, I know 2 or 3 years ago, I started doing, I started collecting like surveys from the team to kind of just assess me and rate me as far as to how I'm doing. And one of the things that kept coming back was that I would just jump on people all the time for making like stupid decisions or dumb decisions or decisions that I didn't agree with. And it was creating a culture of fear, and it was creating a culture where people were scared to make decisions. And I had to really learn to just take a step back from that and like control myself better and allow them to make those mistakes without me getting upset or bothered by it.
Yeah, similar for me, with holding things a little bit more loosely, not trying to just like drive the shit out of everyone and really like oversee things super tightly. I thought that's what was going to help get the results, that like kind of extreme accountability and being kind of tough and hard with people. But then you see, like Gabe, you're talking about, like Ryan, you talked about, that has a lot of negative consequences and probably isn't even the most effective management approach. And by being kinder and holding things more loosely and not being as exacting in my standards, not being as harsh when people make mistakes or aren't working the way I think they should be, that's been a big development for me, and I expect I'm gonna have to keep progressing in that as I move forward.
How are you guys getting uncomfortable currently?
So I like that theory. Have you guys heard that concept of, if you tie a rope around an elephant's foot, he'll walk in a circle for 2 days, and you could take the rope off his foot and he'll never leave that circle?
Okay. I've heard of similar things, but not that one specifically.
I mean, very similar. So I just think too many of us get stuck in our circles, and circles of friends, circles of habits, circles of, you know, networking and, you know, the way we do business, even the processes that we do, right? And the way I get uncomfortable is networking and talking to people in other industries. I think that's super important if you're in the wholesaling and flipping industry. Like, you get so caught up in one way to do things.
Right.
And I like to I am curious. I think that's the best way. That's the best word I could use, is I'm super curious, and I'm constantly wanting to know what someone else is doing and how they're doing it better. And it just gives me so many ideas on how I can implement it and change it in my business. But what do you guys do?
So for me, we just got a $5 million park portfolio under contract. By far the biggest deal that we've done. I'm uncomfortable. We have 10 mobile home parks under contract. By far the most we've ever had at one time. I'm uncomfortable with just how fast things are progressing and how many deals that we have under contract. So I just kind of, for me, it's just as simple as pushing my edges a little bit, doing a little more than I think I can, going a little bigger than I really feel comfortable with, and just continually just nudging myself out of the comfort zone just a little bit, just continuously nudging myself.
Nice.
That's great. How about you, Gabe? What do you do to get uncomfortable?
It's a good question. I honestly don't know if I'm doing enough in this moment right now. For right now, for me, it's figuring out what I need to, what are the main things that I need to do to get to where I want to get to, and honestly, just start implementing them. And it's requiring learning new skills, venturing into new territories. One of the things I'm going to start doing now is I'm going to get back into the mastermind stuff, but not in real estate. I want to go to totally, completely different masterminds that are more business oriented, to network and to just expose myself to new ideas.
I just joined one, by the way, you might like.
Did you? Which one?
It's called the Power Room.
Okay.
And what I like about it is they've got that kind of online perspective and the in-person deal going on. And they kind of do business processes for some of their online stuff. And it's all scheduled out throughout the year. You know what the subjects are. And then they also do social media, not social media, excuse me. Social media is part of the word, but branding and marketing, Zoom calls throughout the year also. So everyone in it is different. Some guys are real estate. Some, like one guy started a quilting business and sold it for 150 million. I mean, it's really cool.
Wow.
Cool stuff. But I like that, Gabe. Like, I just think in the real estate world, we get too caught up with associating with ourselves, which is good. I think you should be in real estate masterminds, but getting outside of that is super important.
Yeah, for sure. I think for me, definitely that. I think I've come to realize that to get to the next level, it's really about the people and the relationships, and I need to like make more effort to. I think I've gotten a little complacent lately with the last year with COVID and just being here at home and stuff and not wanting to travel. But I think I had to switch a couple of those things up and really make an effort to surround myself with people just operating at, much bigger businesses and really transforming different industries and exposing myself to just bigger ideas and people that are just, doing things at a higher level.
And I'll throw a couple things out there too. I mean, just examples. Me posting more personal stuff on Facebook, like what I've been doing recently about like my exploration this last year and a half or so, into just like sort of consciousness and awareness and whatever else, but just personal, like sort of more close to me things. I've been extremely uncomfortable, posting that shit publicly. But in terms of me and my real life's work, like Gabe, yours, impacting people and coaching and mentoring and being helpful, I need to have an audience that actually cares what I have to say. And you can't have that if you're not posting shit. Right. So just even little stuff like that for me, makes me super uncomfortable. So I feel like I'm just constantly seeing, finding ways to be uncomfortable and pushing myself there. And even just this whole, consciousness exploration stuff that I've been doing has been super fucking weird, and sometimes it's been really hard, and it's been really out there. And I've been highly uncomfortable a lot of the time in a lot of different ways. So yeah, it's just become, for me, and maybe Ryan for you too, and Gabe, probably for you, is like, it just become, if I'm not getting uncomfortable some of the time, I don't feel like I'm really living or really growing. Right. I don't feel like anything's really happening for me. So it's just become part of how I do things.
All right. Yeah. I think for me, it's definitely going to be getting into a mastermind to develop new relationships. And then also I need to get a coach. I really do. I need someone that I can bounce my ideas off and really hold me accountable. Cause I think the team holds me accountable when it comes to my goals and priorities within our company, Florida Cash Home Buyers. But there's so much stuff that I want to do outside of that I don't have anyone there to really bounce those ideas off and really create the structure and the accountability that I need to make sure I'm actually following through on those things,
Totally.
I like it. Great topic, guys. This is a fun episode. I enjoyed it.
Cool.
Me too. It was good, guys.
All right, guys. We'll catch you on the other side.